and I saw your son, your glorious little son there with a...
The cutie pie.
With the cutie pie. What's his name?
A Jagger.
Okay, so Jagger. Let's move like Jagger.
Yeah.
So basically, the power of the pack isn't just a concept; it's a strategy, and I think we have to realize it. And if you look at, the wolves traveling in a pack, because women don't just empower each other; we accelerate each other's success. And how do we do this? So, we have this myth of a woman can do it on her own. And it's actually a myth, because if you look at our communities, from our grandmothers to our mothers, and they come from communities, whether they're cooking together, it's the power of the pack. And I think we have to take that through to our successes, because it amplifies a lot of the things that we do. So I always say, I've seen it firsthand. When women support women, entire industries shift. It's not soft power. It's now smart power.
I like that.
Right? Because if you think about, we're not in competition with each other. Like I said, we're building a movement. And how do we do this? So I like to say that we're a sisterhood of success. And it doesn't work with everybody. Because I want to talk about that now.
I'm glad that you added that line.
Because if you look at the women in leadership at the moment, we are winning. There's a winning wave. And I mean, if you open social media, if you read some articles, if you watch television, it's the leadership. A true leader brings others with her, because legacy isn't built alone. It's built in the community, and we are doing it very well. And I think about when women share opportunities, when we open doors for each other, we celebrate each other's achievements, then there's a ripple effect, because we become extraordinary. So we start building stronger networks when we have this power of the pack. We are open to new industries, right? Because I might be in marketing and I might be a content creator, but then I meet somebody in the tech space that is my friend, and I start understanding a new industry. So what we are doing is now we are driving collective growth. So we're not in our little hub, in our little circle. So it's, like I said, it's not about competition anymore. It's about connecting with each other. It's about sharing the seats at the table. And we're no longer building new tables. We're building our own boardrooms now. They say, build longer tables. So we're like, let's up this now.
Yeah, let's move one level up.
One level up. We're building our own boardroom tables, and we actually definitely bringing you guys. So I think we're all starting to flip the script on what collectiveness looks like, feels like, is seen like. And if you look at social media, how many men on social media are often posting pictures of them, except if they're on the golf course together?
Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting. But I love the idea of what, and I think, yet again, that's a T-shirt, right? When you said we're no longer doing soft power, but we're doing smart power. I think that's a T-shirt.
Okay, I told you we are in this T-shirt business.
No, because I think it's so important, because I think when you understand what that means, this idea, we know what soft skills are and what soft skills bring for somebody who doesn't have them, right? But the idea is that we've moved on. Like you're saying, we're no longer building long tables, we're building boardrooms. Yeah. We have to evolve. And the reason why I love that is because I also now believe the conversation has to evolve. We can't have every International Women's Month and International Women's Day on August and March have the same conversations. And as somebody who's been in the boardrooms, sat in those meetings, been to like a host of your events and to many others, I love this conversation because it doesn't feel stagnant. For the longest time, the conversation has felt stagnant. The themes of the conversations have felt stagnant. The kind of, we start in a very progressive sense, but then we keep on getting back to, well, it's difficult to break through the glass ceiling. I'm happy that we're having a conversation to say that we are breaking through the glass ceiling.
Because those conversations were individual conversations.
Yes.
Now the conversations are collective. But let's keep it real. Excuse me. Let's keep it real. While there is an undeniable strength in unity, right, it's also true that not everyone belongs in every pack. Because I just don't want everyone in my pack. I don't want people to bring me down. I don't want people to talk about me while they're there. So, and it's okay. Because sometimes the visions, your values, your personalities simply don't align. Because we also,
and that's okay.
And that's okay. But I think women are mean when we say no. because we're creating boundaries. I create boundaries. I know certain people, and I say it's okay if I don't meet up with you guys, or because I see the people that they connected with, and I'm sure they say the same about me or my crew or my pack. And the one reason I want to talk about this is today is that I hosted a dinner post my birthday,
Yes.
and everybody wanted to have different lunches and dinners, and I have different groups of friends, and it's really difficult. I mean, I'm on a diet. Like, how much cake am I going to eat? How much food am I going to eat? And I decided, and I said, well,
bring them all together.
bring them all together, whether you agree or do not agree with each other.
But you're the central figure that they're convening around.
I am the central figure, and I looked at the thing, and you would see in my social media.
I saw it. Yeah.
That was the power of my pack. And they all are elevated in their own sectors, in their own realms, but together. For me, I looked at and I said, these people show up for me. This is my pack. And that, for me, was my magic. And I hold on to how people show up for me. So you create your own pack. Wherever you are, you create your own pack.
If you're not fitting into a pack, or you're not prescribed into a pack, create your own, find your likeness.
Yeah. So...
Can I ask a question, though?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to say, well, that sounds easy. How do I create my own pack?
Well, you know what your visions are. You know it's the work that you have to do for yourself. I know the work that I do for myself every day, the people that I need in my life. You know the people that you need in your life. And, the power of pack isn't about forcing connections. Right? It's about finding, like I said, alignment, purpose with each other. I mean, this word purpose, we will use it till people are sick, because we need to understand what purpose means, what our purpose is, and why we are here. Mutual support, right? And collective momentum. Because when you get that right, then the magic happens. So all of us have to create our own magic and create our own pack. And I say, go and find the people that you want. Don't come with people that are already, created their packs and say, hey, I want to be. Let's be honest, from the school ground, from back in the days, you have your own pack. And if there's somebody new that wants to come, then you're like, hey, why is she here? What does she want to do? I had to do that with one of the girls that arrived from Dubai, that a lot of my friends kind of had preconceived ideas about her, and they all, 5 of them already was like, what is she doing here? And what is Diamond doing here? But I had to I didn't tell them. But I surprised everybody on there. And I got everyone to make their own decision about her. By the end of the day, they're all like, oh my God, I love Diamond. Oh my God, she's amazing. Oh my God. So for me, as much as they had the preconceived ideas of what Diamond was and whatever, trying to protect me, of course, my friends are protective over me. For me, it's about you bring in that other person and let people make their own decision on that. Yeah. So speaking about magic, and like we said, our little Jagger's wearing a Marvel t-shirt. Let's talk Marvel, right? So think about how the Marvel movies are made. So you got all the different superheroes, the different stories.
Thor, Spider-Man.
Even different tones. So you've got Iron Man, sarcastic, Black Panther's regal, you've got Scarlet Witch is mysterious. But when they all come together, they have a bigger mission. And that's how I see the power of the pack, right? And the Avengers, when you have the Avengers, right, they're assembled and their impact is massive. So they don't lose their individuality, but they contribute to it. So even if you look at when they do make the Marvel movie, the writers, the costume directors, the artists, they come together to, even though they're individual, they come together to make this this massive team behind the scenes, right? So each one of them brings their genius. They're all aligned with this bigger vision, and that's the pack. So it's purpose-driven collaboration, and collaboration, as much as say is the new currency, is now the new competition. Because when people are in this pack and your collaboration, isn't that a better competition? You're standing there with a group of women or a group of people and going to present something or talk about something that you're all aligned with. So it is the new competition.
And I just wanted to add on the idea of collaboration, and to your point that Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Scarlet Witch, the other one as well, that they have the individual strengths. And that even in a pack, there is conflict. And if you watch any of those movies, there's always been conflict. but there's always the collective mission of the pack overrides the conflict. So you're always down the line, whether it's Iron Man who goes to speak to Bruce Banner or Bruce Banner who rectifies Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because the overarching mission is so much bigger than the pack, they always align each other. So whether somebody stumbles off, they understand the value of that person, and so they bring that person back.
And with that as well, if somebody's story doesn't fit in, isn't that becomes art in that movie? It becomes art, right? So that's fine too. Because eventually you find some kind of alignment, eventually. So not every superhero is in every film. The same applies to us. Not every circle is your circle. The key is choose your pack with intention. So do the work, like I say. Do the work. Who's your pack? Who's in your group chats that you have with each other? And why are you in these group chats? So it starts from there.
In 2025, Kerry, should we all be in a pack? Because some people go, well, I'm not outgoing, I'm not an extrovert, I'm happy to be alone. But I'm asking a very pointed question. Should you in 2025 be collaborating? Should you be in a pack? Whether you, like you said, do the work. Should you be doing the work to find a pack? Or should you just be okay by yourself?
Riding solo is not as glamorous as it looks at. We should be in a pack. Riding solo is in
That's 1980, right?
1980, and I think for me it's actually priceless because you have the conversation. It actually feels amazing when you know someone has your back. It feels so empowering.
It does.
It feels so liberating.
It does.
So. When a woman gives you a recommendation, a shout out, a quiet word of encouragement, or even a guy, like I walked in here, everybody walks in and say, oh, you look so lovely. It does give you that encouragement that, hey, listen, when I intentionally got up to decide I wanted to wear this, that means I was right on the mark.
Yes.
Right? So at least that. And you know what's priceless is that even when we're not... nothing's perfect, but even when we make mistakes, real queens, I always say, fix each other's crowns.
Wasn't that on your cake?
Yeah, well, Queen Katie was on my cake, yes. But real queens fix each other crowns. So we might just talk to the ex that we're not meant to, and, we go cry to our friend, or somebody comes and say, hey, I've had a bad day with this client. We are there to fix each other's crowns. And I think that is real pack. That is the power in the pack. And that pack starts from our WhatsApp groups. I mean, if you read some of our WhatsApp groups, if it gets leaked out, we are in trouble. Okay. In fact, you guys
I think most of us.
Most of us are in trouble. But imagine if we did all of this every single day. I know I get this every single day, but imagine if the audiences have this every single day. They know their purpose. They know their reason why they're here. And if they're having a bad day, there are people that actually brings. And I think for me, it's the power of the pack is real.
Can the power of the pack also be, and I want maybe for you to explain the difference between when you are in a family, you're already in a pack, right? And somebody will go, well, I've got that pack. Are you talking about packs in general, or are you saying that there's a family one? Sometimes so I know, for example, I have a friend, and her pack is her sisters, and they're all accomplished, right? They're all doing incredibly well, and she's from Durban, moved here, works for one of the countries as an attaché, and that's her pack. So every weekend they are together, the husbands are together, and because they're all accomplished, she's fulfilled. Could that be a pack?
Do you think that families are a choice?
No, they're
that
not.
Pack's not a choice.
Okay.
That's
what I'm trying to ask you, actually.
I don't think the family's a choice. That Pack's a choice.
Okay.
Yes, you can kind of maybe decide that some of your family you want to, but let's be honest, how many brother-in-laws do you like? I mean, I like my brother-in-laws, but I mean, let's say you're just there because your sister's husband and you're trying to be courteous.
And let's say you're all in Joburg, you're all living here, but you're originally from somewhere else. You're kind of forced together.
Absolutely. And you just be courteous. And I think the pack for me, it's really about I always say it's not about holding each other's hand. It's about lifting each other. It's really about not holding each other's hands. It's about lifting each other as well. That's quite important. Because I know every time I've risen, It's been with the circle of women beside me, guiding me, celebrating me. That's the power of the pack for me. And I think that's been an important. For me, it's always been about, in choosing collaboration, it has been better than comparing ourselves with each other, because we all shine. I mean, the one thing we were talking about at my table on Friday, is that, now we all are queens. And I'm like, yes, we all want princess treatment, but we all are queens. Because at the moment, we all are so, powerful in all our decisions that we make. We're stepping out. We're successful. We're impactful. We are voices. So we are all queens. So you can have 20 queens at a table, right? But we all would like princess treatment. But that princess treatment is either with our fathers, with our sons, with our partners. So we actually say, yeah, I do like some princess treatment at home. So I think for me, it's really about creating spaces for each other. It's giving up a hand. Being part of a pack is really, you don't hesitate. I got you. And then figure it out later. And even if you want to yell at me after that, you're like, how stupid can you be? But at that moment, it's like, girl, I need you. I've made this decision. I made a wrong decision. I think whatever. Without hesitation. Then you come back and say, okay, you really are stupid. And I think for me, that is thing. And the beauty part about...
So the pack has to hold each other accountable too.
Eventually. Not for the moment. Eventually. I mean, sometimes the moment is very sensitive.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, not in the moment.
Yeah.
But there has to be an accountability.
Of course, accountability. Because then we're fake, right? We're just there for pictures with each other, and we're not there to actually, build each other up.
You talked about Captain America. You talked about the Avengers, and look, it's an unwritten rule that Captain America led that team, right? Along with kind of Tony Stark. In your definition of a pack, is there a leader?
They will always be a leader.
Or is the leadership shifts depending on what's happening?
I think they will always be a leader, but the leadership can change depending on what happened. For me, the leaders, there'll always be a leader, not the same leader, right? So I know that in my pack, there's always Joe will step in, and it'll be Joe's time, and we'll call it Joe's magic, and it'll be Katie or Kitty, where they'll say, hey, Katie who steps in. So they will always be, so yes, it will shift. Because remember, we're all great at what we do, but we all need each other separately.
I want to ask another follow-up question, because I think it's important for people to understand the context of a pack.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the pack environment, and you're very proactive, so it's not thrown at you. But how do... You said earlier we've got to do the work. But sometimes packs are formed with intention. One person makes sure, guys, let's do a coffee date. Where's the coffee date? Guys, why are you not at the coffee date? And eventually people start buying into intention. And sometimes people go, I'm doing so much work to keep these people together, and it doesn't feel like it's valued and stuff. When should one not think like that? Because if you're building the pack, someone is going to pull more than everyone else.
Well, it's very easy. You make the call. So I use this as an example, and all the stuff that I can talk is the stuff that I can speak about, is that you have a group, you have your pack of girls that you kind of also adopt along the way, because that's what it happens, right? Okay. You meet that one meets that one, you adopt, and you're like, hey,
join me for coffee.
Sometimes, we also, in the main, the ones that started the pack are the ones that, would say, well, the elders, we would say, that one, do you really want us to think whatever? And I would kind of put a case forward. So we kind of do that as well. We put a case forward. We're like, give her a chance. And that's what we do. The other thing about the pack is that you have the one that's not pulling their weight. And let me tell you something, I'm that person that will remove them from the group chat.
Okay, you're that person.
Yeah.
And what does pulling their weight mean in the context of the pack?
Well, in the context of the pack, is pulling the weight is that they're not commenting on successes.
They're not involved.
They're not involved.
They don't make the time.
They don't pitch up at certain things.
Okay.
Whether I have an event or someone else has an event or someone else has a work thing and we all want to try to support each other, they just ghost us. I mean, not only guys ghost us, girls ghost us. And you eventually listen and then you're like, listen, I'm going to take this person on. And then who's bold enough to do that? And I'm the one person that that is bold enough to say, well,
Because your argument is it's an investment.
it is an investment. And you know what? It's not about wishing you a happy birthday, or it's really about,
The
that.
journey.
Yes. And if you want to be participate in that journey, and that is what we are. I mean, I go back to just simple thing as WhatsApp chats. That is our packs, and that's where our packs start our day. Good morning, beautifuls. How is your day today? And I think it's the most important thing, because those things are not. Yes, they might be. If you have 8 people in a pack, 3 people might be of business, and the 5 people might be other people that contribute to your conversation, and it's also okay. So for me, it's really, we don't just lift each other up. We elevate our game entirely. So we help elevate our game, whatever game we are in for the day. So that's how we do it as women. I don't know how you guys do it. We do it not one by one. We do it side by side. And I go back to mums and grandmoms and stuff like that. And we do it side by side. So today I want to ask you, from a gentleman perspective, who's in your pack? And don't say Jagger. So who's in your pack?
No, I've got a pack. We meet for coffee every Sunday.
Okay.
But we're all very busy. And in my pack are mostly business owners.
Okay.
And we've made an agreement that there's an intentionality around when we meet, but we try and keep it light. The entire motto is to keep it light. We all have our challenges. But the idea is that we're just a group of men that congregate on a Sunday. We have a cup of coffee. It generally is meant to be an hour, but it ends up being 2.5 hours. And the idea is that that's kind of the space, that moment that we can just kind of have a chat
and
without filters. You know?
And do you think that it changes the narrative if we have a person of the opposite gender in our packs?
I think so. I think certain conversations, I think it would be uncomfortable for us to have, not to say that we have lewd and lascivious conversations.
No, yeah.
But the idea is that so I'll give you a practical example. So when you talk about, for example, the interaction between a husband and a wife, somebody will comment on it, not talk about their wife, but they'll talk about, for example, why do women scream in the morning?
Okay.
That's not a conversation you can have with another woman there, because that person would feel the need to defend. But if it's a group of men, it's an almost organic conversation. That actually happened to me too.
Okay.
And what was it? And then so you can share that in the environment without judgment. And it also sets a perspective for you to go, oh, I'm not the only one going through that.
Exactly that. So you and I agree. I think our listeners might not agree that the pack is exclusive.
No, you can have a pack where
I would
men
think,
and women.
Yeah, but I think for me, I wouldn't want. We talk a lot about guys,
No,
and
we must have our different spaces. We're not the same. Men and women are different.
We share some thirst trap pictures with each other. I don't think you want to be part of that pack. So basically,
unless you're into men, then maybe you want to be part of that.
True. But so we agree, it's that the pack needs to challenge you, needs to celebrate you, help you expand, right? And you're part of this pack that shows value and vision, most importantly. Because if you don't have people that are visionaries, then you are just home with your sister-in-law. Literally, and not really.
Not to say that's a bad thing.
Not to say that's a bad thing.
But that doesn't define your pack, though.
So whether you're building for me, I always bring it back to the economy, building out to entrepreneurship, business. So whether you're building a business, launching a project, or just trying to stay sane, like you were saying, in this chaotic world, your pack can be your power source. Right, and that's the one thing where we show. So
I also learn from my pack, because my pack is quite experienced.
So that's why it's important.
The one guy in my pack owns a very successful restaurant business in Johannesburg, through Hyde Park, all of that. And just listening to him speak about how he built his restaurant business gives you ideas for I run a business, gives me idea for my own business. So
that's why it's important for us to make sure that we have the right pack, right? And so for me, I always think that a pack is, it's also sometimes negative, right? So all of a sudden it's Katie and her pack, and then you're like, oh my God, and it's like, oh my God, it's you guys.
Like a gang.
It's like a gang. So let's talk about that. We're not a gang. Okay, I'm gangster, but we're not a gang.
Okay.
Okay, so it's really, I think we have to think about what going back to what our vision is. Our vision is really to empower each other, celebrate each other, uplift each other. So we're not a gang. And if you're like, oh, Katie and her crew are coming, we're not coming to beat you up. We're not coming. We're probably coming to have a conversation with you to say you messed up, or you did this, or you did that. So let us make sure that our audience does not
That's accountability. There's not gang.
not believe that when we talk about this pack now that there's a gang. We're not supporting gangsterism. So I think for me, it's when women rise, we all rise, and we do agree with that. So I always say is imagine what happens when women stop competing. When we stop competing with each other. When we just continue collaboration. For me, that is now a real revolution. And I believe that's what I try to do and I'm trying to embody. I'm also trying to get like the packs of women. Like I do have them. I have a couple of packs. I think I have 5 packs at the moment. And you would see that, I did on Friday night, all the packs were together. But for me, I always feel that I am the exact same person in all my packs. So
That's a very interesting point.
So the authenticity, my authenticity, me being my
So you're not adapting to the environment.
I'm not adapting to the environment. I'm exactly
You're consistent.
I am exactly who I am in my 5
Very
different packs. So you, because remember, your pack is like, Sam might be in my pack and he might not get on with Tim. And so you're also cognizant.
I don't get on with them.
Is that true or not? I think that's not true. Stop bullying him. So for me, it's important. We need to understand why we want to do this, who we want to do this with. And it's like when you choose a relationship, and like a serious relationship, I mean, we all make mistakes, but we choose a relationship. How do we choose our pack? And if our packs are not working, you sometimes can step out of the pack as well and say, with all due respect, I don't think this fits in line with. But you already know you want to be part of a pack, the first day.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And your big final thought?
Your win. So your win is my win, and that's a pack mindset. So I want to put it out there to our audiences to say the most powerful thing you can do today is lift another woman up, recommend her, refer her, and recognize her. And then you find that you're part of a pack.
I love that. That's really great. I love this talk about pack mentality. And I love this idea that we're breaking this myth that we are better off alone. I think it's somebody who's been hurt, who's been traumatized with things like that, because nobody wants to be set alone at a braai or go alone to a party or be alone in a nightclub. I mean, if you end up there, you try and gravitate towards people that look open to you joining their table.
Yeah.
But this idea that we're alone, we're better alone, that's nonsense.
But Sam, the most important thing also is we have to take away that being part of a pack is not a lynch mob. We don't have a lynch mob mentality. So also, if I have an issue with Tembi, it doesn't mean Sam must have an issue with Tembi. So it has a lot of dynamics in the pack as well. So we shouldn't have the lynch mob mentality when like, oh, well, let's all annihilate her, let's all take her out, and we don't like her. We all have to say, well, those are the issues that you have, let's talk it through. And I think I've experienced that in my group, my packs as well, is that
because everybody's equal. There's everybody, even though somebody might drive it forward because somebody's a lot more strong administratively, or as you said, there's an elders bunch, but it isn't an idea similar to a gang where there's a general and everybody else follows that. That's not what we advocate.
And I think as women, we're guilty of that. Because if your enemy is my enemy, and it can't be that, right? It can't always be that. It can only be that when we're talking about a girl that has stolen a guy. And then you're like, she's your enemy because she's your group enemy, right? But otherwise, you cannot have a lynch mob mentality. And I've seen it recently on social media, a woman that was a hairstylist, and everybody that didn't even have an issue with her all suddenly started having an issue with her, because whether they wanted to be relevant, whether they wanted to like the woman that started this agenda, and I think that is a sad part of it. So we also need to be real that some women automatically think that, this is my pack and we should have a lynch mob mentality. So it's not that.
Can I ask you one question? I know we're running fast out of time, but you've said something super interesting. And I just want to get your thoughts on how you think about trustworthiness of a pack. So, for example, yesterday I was watching a video on TikTok, and there's this whole trend: we listen and we don't judge. Right? I don't know if you've seen it.
We say it all the time to each other. We listen and we don't judge.
And then these people just say random stuff to each other, and some of it is like seriously offensive. But in the one group, there was a pack. There were 5 women sitting in a car. And they were like, we listen and we don't judge. And she said, well, I secretly record our conversations and I make fun of you guys with my friends. And I don't think they have a pack after that. So in terms of the trustworthiness of being a trusted pack member, of what is being shared here, and what we are discussing, how important is that?
It's the single most important thing.
Because those women were horrified after she said that. And I think she realized when she made that admission, it was a massive mistake.
It's the single most important thing. You have some really deep reflection if you're doing this, right, for yourself. You're an absolute narcissist if you're doing this. You are not a friend. You're a narcissist. Because if you're doing that you're doing that intentionally, not unintentionally.
To disparage them,
right?
You're doing
trivialize them. Absolutely. And then to tell them, by the way, I've actually recorded your message, it's actually sick. It's actually toxic. Then you don't need that person. The most important thing about a pack is trust. It's the number one. The conversations that we have or the situations that we put in this pack, anybody that is not trustworthy can take something out of there, put it out of context, and ruin our reputation, ruin our name in the industry, ruin our name with our families, ruin whatever it is. Because we also talk about our families there, we talk about our children there. So it's something really deep-rooted. It can destroy us. So for me, trust is the single most important thing in the pack before anything else. Before aligning with our values and our purpose, it is trust. Because what I put out there, I am trusting you. It's a safe space. So I think for me, it is ultimately the most important thing. And I've seen it, and that's why I've kicked people out of our group when I was like, I think it's really scary that we talk about some stuff and that content can get leaked out, and it's like this person said that, and next minute it's in the papers, and you're not living your truth, or you're not fake. But hey, we girls, we make mistakes, we make errors. So for me, that is you have to identify narcissism in your friend circle and their toxicity that actually brings in their little quirks, in their little by the way, I'm recording you. And then what is the response? What was the response to that when, by the way, I'm recording you? There's nothing.
They were shocked.
Absolutely. So for me, it's really about, how do we help each other accelerate? And that is not acceleration.
919 FM, your morning.